think we are live now. Hi guys, welcome to Run Stretch Succeed. We have got the random runner here, Paul. Do you want to introduce yourself, Paul?
Yeah, so my name is Paul Manson, and otherwise known as the Random Runner. If you've seen any of my YouTube videos, I've been working my way through a list of ultras and making videos as I go. So that is me.
So what got you into running? Have you done it for a long time, or is it something you've done through your adult life?
Yeah, so I mean, I've probably been running for like 15 years. Like I still remember, like I was always into going to the gym and just working out and stuff like that. And you mentioned a wee bit about in the treadmill. I still remember my first run actually outside, and it was like utterly useless. So like I just couldn't pace myself. Like I would just run too fast and then like completely burn out. So it took me quite a long time to actually learn to pace and then build up, sort of 5Ks, 10K. And I remember at the point that I got to 10K, I was like, well, this is great, like decent amount of exercise, um, all done within an hour. Why would anybody want to run anything further than a 10K? And then like, people start talking about marathons and stuff like that. So I ended up on the slippery slope of going from, just a sort of 10K runner to marathon runner to ultra runner within just a few years. And I did my first ultra now about 11 or 12 years ago, which was the wall, the rat race wall, which was good. At that stage, you could still do it over 2 days. They gave you a 2 day option. So it's like 70 miles. So the first day was like 40 miles, second day was 30. And there was an option to do it in one day. And I remember like thinking, that's mental. How could anybody even contemplate running 70 miles in like one go? Um, which is funny because that popped up as a memory. I did that race twice, and it popped up as a memory about a year ago, when I was heading off to run the West Highland Way, which is close on 100 miles, and then I was thinking, wow, yeah, it's amazing what can change in 10 years.
So that was your first race. So what races did you do after that one? Like, what got you proper like into ultra running? Like,
Yeah, I mean, so like getting into ultra running, I then just hovered around those sort of distances for like near enough like 8 or 9 years. I mean, I just running sort of anything between sort of 50 to 80 Ks was like really what I did. I remember running the Round the Rock, which is the Jersey race. That had been sort of my longest run in that first sort of 8 years of exploring ultra running. And it was funnily enough, we had a child about 2 years ago, and people say, oh, it's hard to find the time to get out running and stuff, but with both me and my partner decided to take a year off when our kid was born, and that was great. My wife, she's really into running as well, so there was a kind of level understanding that we would still try and keep that up. In fact, 6 months after giving birth, she went on and did the Copenhagen Marathon. So we were kind of, because we had the time, our wee guy was like, at that age, you just put them in a pram, and we straight away bought a running pram, and I was like pretty much every day, and just gradually building up my miles. And it was in that sort of time that I started to think, well, I've never actually quite managed to break 100 kilometers. So I think that was maybe about 2.5 years ago now. I decided that I was going to head out on the West Island Way and just run until I got to 100 100K. So, and I did it, carried on. So I got, from Mulgai up to the King's House, which is like 100 and, I think it was just short of 120K, which I was, pretty pleased about. I was pretty wrecked after it.
So was that just off your own back, like not like a race? So you just was like woke up and was like,
Yeah, yeah, I just wanted to, like, I didn't want to do that sort of distance as part of a race. Like, I have been quite competitive when I've been younger, but like now I just enjoy just going out for big days out. But as I was exploring going further and doing races of that sort of level, I probably found that there was just an extra level of pressure and stress involved in doing races. And like when you're entering into something that's like a bit of an unknown, you're like, I don't know how I'm going to cope, like physically and mentally. I'd rather just do that myself. And then like there's absolutely no you've set yourself a target, and if you do it, great. If you don't, it's, I don't know if it's your own if it's your own thing. Is it a DNF if you don't finish? I don't know. But
yeah,
so I just decided that I was like, right, I'll just head off on my own. Not supported, just getting stuff along the way. And that sort of, that kind of kick-started that. And since then, I think I've ran like about 10 times over 100K. And like each time you just get a bit more comfortable with it. In fact, it was only just this year that I did my first 100 miler race. Even though last year I did the race across Scotland, which is like it's a 200 miler.
yeah.
So I did a 200 miler before doing a 100 miler.
What is like? Because I'm actually interested in doing like race for Scotland. What is the difference from? I know it sounds stupid this, but from 100, obviously 50 to 100 is dead different. What is it like
Yeah,
from 100 to further, like 220,
yeah. To be
whatever?
honest, just like what I found is that the further or longer that you're going, and also the longer you're going to be out there, um, it really just comes down to self-management. Like, so looking after yourself, looking after your feet, taking regular breaks. Like, I mean, if I don't know if on the race across Scotland, I was like at every single checkpoint, I just got a seat, put my feet up, and sat for like just 20 minutes. Because
Yeah,
um, I, and I do that quite a lot in races, and it can be strange because like you're you're running along, you passing people, and then you get to a checkpoint, sit down, have a bit of a rest, and these people come in, and like it's quite funny. Some people are just different in races, like they just come into checkpoint, just eat, grab stuff, and then they're like off again, and I'm like, oh. And then 20 minutes later, I'll head out feeling quite refreshed and run on past them, and I tend to, if anyone's been with me on a race before, they probably know that I tend to yo-yo quite a lot. So the people are like, "What? It's you again?" I'm like, "Yeah, sorry," because it is just about um um you know preserving yourself. You want to, you don't want to get to the end of these big races or towards the end absolutely buggered. So if you can kind of manage yourself well in the early stages and just keep that going, then I've actually found in the last two big races that I did, which is the West Highland Way race and the Lakeland 100, um, I set a plan. I knew a time that I wanted to try and do it within, and broke it all down. And the first, like the first third just seems ridiculously slow because you're just like, I mean, I can run faster than this, but I'm like, right, no, just stick to the plan. And I was never very good at sticking to plans. I was like, I would write a plan down, but then I'd be like, oh no, I'm feeling good at the moment. I'll just push it, and then end up really slowing down. Whereas I think the more consistent you can be right from the start, again, like West Island Way race. I mean, I think I was in the last, out of a field of I don't know, I think there was 300 or so. For the first third, I think I was in the last 20 or 30 people. And then middle third started overtaking quite a lot of people. And then in the last third, I took over to loads. I ended up in, I think I was in the top 40 or so. So, which just shows you again, you know, it's like you pass some really broken people that have just gone way too fast at the start, and then you're seeing them later on just destroyed. So, plus it's easier on you, you know, if you're not, if you're just feel like you're just plodding along. I mean, obviously different for some people that want to actually race, and I think that's a different mentality which I don't have. I mean, you know, I like to go and push myself on big distances and stuff like that, but like actually pushing really hard for these sort of distances and the time that you're out. Like, fair play to the guys that absolutely hammer it. You know, they're it's a different level, really.
Yeah. So what is your training like? Like, do you have like a set plan, or is it random, or?
Completely, completely random. I mean, I remember back to when I first was training for the wall and building up the miles, and I think because it was a back to back, I just got into the habit of going out for a long run on the Saturday and a long run on the Sunday. So my legs at that early stage got quite conditioned to, um, you know, recovering quite quickly, and I still feel that now. Like, unless I pick up an injury or something like that on a race, even after, you know, 100 mile race now, I, you know, give it 2 or 3 days and I'm quite happy just to start getting back out there running. And just because I enjoy running, I enjoy being
Yeah.
out and about. And so, you know, looking back at my first early training, really it was just, right, okay, I know I need to start running more. I need to run further and I need to build up my weekly mileage. And that's all I did, and that's still what I do. I don't have particular plans or distances. I mean, I suppose I always keep in mind if I'm training up to something that I want to be sitting somewhere around 100k a week for my running. If I'm a wee bit below or a wee bit over, that's fine. But to be honest, in the last year, I've found myself doing one big ultra every month. So either that's a race or it's just been my own adventure. So I'm working my way through. There's a website called Scotland's Great Trails. There's 28 marked trails on it, and they all vary from anything from I think like 60 or 70k up to the longest, which is the Southern Upland Way, which is the race across Scotland. So that's like whatever that is, 340k or something like that, 350k. So so you know, by doing my own challenges, by doing races one every month, then what I tend to find in my training is that that is the that is a big training block, you know. So I'll build up to it, do a big run, you know, whether that's like somewhere between 100 to 200k, and then, you know, a wee bit of recovery from it, and then start building up to the next one. So, so you usually see in my Strava profile, it's just like, you know, one a month, just a peak, and then a drop, and then a peak, and then a drop, and a peak. So, and like, you know, it seems a bit funny, but like, I kind of just think on that way. Well, I'm kind of keeping myself 100k fit. You know, if I can go out and just do 100k, then I'm happy. I mean, obviously that's working for me at the moment. You know, people keep saying it's like, well, you should, if you had a bit more structured training, coaching, or something like that, then you might be able to do even better. But you know, better is that,
I
like,
don't think structure works for everyone sometimes. Like,
yeah,
if you get what I mean. I know people like to be structured, but if I try to follow a plan, I will want to do anything but that plan because I will just completely do the opposite to what I'm telling myself to do just because
Yeah.
That's how I work.
Yeah. Which, yeah, and like sometimes if somebody's told you to, right, this is what you're going to do, if you're not feeling it, it then just seems like a real slog. Whereas there's days that you might just be like, actually, I'm feeling really good. I'll go out and I'll run a bit further. Or there's days you are just feeling a bit tired and you go, I'll call it a day at that. I think it's just, I suppose, experience, now, like hitting like 11, 12 years in, um, my body's used to it. I know that I can ramp it up when I need to, rest a wee bit, but as I said, a couple of days is usually all that I need.
So have you got any, what's your nutrition and nutrition recovery, stuff what's not the actual running bit? What do you use like
Yeah, so
nutrition
I
wise?
mean, like nutrition wise, so like I mean, from like from just normal eating sort of stuff, I just eat everything, but I'm fairly healthy. I don't, nothing processed or junk meals. I just try and eat decent, healthy food. And I have been eating quite a lot more eggs recently, like reading a lot about that and just the sort of benefits from it. I used to I used to probably, take a lot more protein shakes, and since reading a bit more about your sort of protein intake and what you actually get from, finishing a workout. I mean, it obviously depends on the level of workout because you get some, you do get some decent sort of recovery shakes and things that are fast acting, get into the bloodstream quicker than eating something and waiting for that to digest. Um, but from a general day-to-day point of view, I'll eat sort of 4 or 5 eggs a day, and then if need be, if I've done something big and I'm out and about on that day, like I will also take a protein shake, or I'm quite a fan of uh, My Protein do a thing called
Yeah.
overnight protein. So sort of slow release thing. So rather than the other stuff, which is like pump it straight into your system, this um, just slowly feeds you through the night. So if I've done something fairly decent, I'll usually have one of them just before going to bed, uh, just to top up the protein, because you do wreck your body on these, particularly like just a few weeks ago finished probably one of my biggest races, which was the Tour de Jean. That's the Tour 330, which is like a 330k, 24,000 meters of elevation race over in the Italian Alps. So that was, I mean, that was mega, absolutely mega. And unfortunately, on that, I actually ended up with a wee bit of an injury on my quad, kind of just in the last descent, tore my quad a bit. So I had to, for me, it's like I had 2 weeks of rest. Well, 2 weeks of not running, which felt like an eternity. But gladly back at it now. So that'll be 3 weeks tomorrow that I finished the tour.
That I've got some questions what people have put because obviously you're going your running club and I'm teaching after this. So if anyone's got any questions, put it in the comments. So someone's put, how often should you eat in a 50 miler?
I suppose it
But
depends what the 50 miler is like. Um, you know, usually, so on a sort of 50 miler, so 80k, I'll have my own bag of gels and a few energy bars and things like that on me. But it just depends what they've actually got at checkpoints. So, like, it's I just try and eat as much as I can, like on these things. You get into a checkpoint, a good rummage of food, just a wee selection of stuff, and then go. But like, I've also found myself doing I mean, like I can go out and do like a 50 or 60K with just nothing but water, or I'll maybe take like one gel. You know, so
Do
it
you
just kind of
use do you use Tailwind or anything like that? Like an
no,
electrolyte drink?
no, never used Tailwind. I've never even tried it actually. So no, I
No.
don't take anything like that. Only thing that I do take electrolyte wise is salt stick to electrolyte tablets. They do these chewable ones which are pretty tasty, but you need actually when you're looking at how much is in it, you need to take quite a lot of them. But yeah, salt stick do these capsules. You take maybe one every hour to 2 hours when you're doing big exercise, and it's got all your electrolytes and stuff in it. And because I used to suffer really badly with cramp. I used to get, you know, my legs would cramp up really badly, and it was simply down to, I'm quite a sweaty runner. Like it doesn't, you know, even just on a wee short run, I'll be like, you know, so on big long runs, I do lose a lot of lose a lot of sweat, and so I need to keep on top of the salt capsules.
Um, Kelly says you look like you do a lot of strength training. What's your top strength training? One or two strength training activities if you do strength training? I'm assuming you do.
Uh, yeah, so I do. I go twice a week. So Tuesday mornings and Thursday mornings. Tuesdays I'll do leg work. Um, I used to do like squats and deadlifts and all that sort of stuff. But I actually find I don't know if it's just my body shape or something like that, but I find them just really awkward. And I used to persist with them, and I used to find myself getting kind of wee injuries and niggles and stuff. And I just realized that what I really need to be doing is more replicating moves that um, use when you're running. You know,
Yeah.
to fire the legs. You know, so I mean, like it's very
So like
seldom.
more functional movement exercises
Yeah.
rather than
So like you know, it's something I used to be a personal trainer like way back, like 20, 15, 20 years ago. And it was something that I always remember being taught, and that is that doing single isolation exercises really isn't very good for you. So if you're doing, you know, if you're sitting like doing leg extensions, you know, just to work your quads, it's like there is no time in life that actually you just simply use your quad. You know, if you're running, everything's involved. You know, a bit your hamstrings, your glutes, your um, calves and stuff. So yeah, so I started just looking at that and being right, okay, more functional exercises. Also used to do really quite heavy weights, which would then bugger my legs. And I mean, you know, I found myself even like 4 or 5 days later still struggling to like walk properly, never mind run. And I'm like, well, again, this is just stupid, you know. So lighten the weight, up the reps, and I think it's just a good way of just loading the muscles a wee bit um, differently, putting a bit of extra pressure on them. And so I do legs on a Tuesday, Thursday I do upper body stuff. And again, I used to like be bench pressing and all that, and then I'm like, what's the bloody point in that? Like apart from trying to build a bigger chest, it's like it just served no purpose. So I guess particularly for going into a race like the Tour, where you're going to, I mean, that was like 130 hours continuous. And for like a good half of that, I was using poles, and I'm fairly new to using poles. So my targeted upper body strength exercises was all about the motion of using poles. So, and again, single um, you know, using each arm in isolation like that, you know, and that yeah seems to work.
and the last question I've got is it's just vanished. um is what's the longest training run before an ultra? So what's your longest run?
Yeah, so like again, there's people that will have like set taper schedules and stuff ahead of a run. And I just don't. Like, again, yeah, there might be a bit of a difference of saying, right, okay, I'm gonna taper in these 2 weeks before doing 100 miles, because my legs will feel a bit fresher. Now, the difference
I,
of doing that versus not, and actually, like, the day before going out for a 20K run might sound a bit stupid, and you might not perform as well as you would have if you had rested entirely. But from my point of view, I think, well, if it's the difference of like a finishing time of 22 hours or 23 hours, it's like it doesn't really matter. I'm not out to race. I'm not out to win. And so really, like, if ahead of if I had a 100K race and the day before was a really nice day, like, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily do something silly, but like I would still go out for like a 10 or 15K, like, the day before. Because I found that in trying tapering properly, my legs just don't respond to it. I feel like I just get all sluggish, and legs feel quite heavy. Whereas some of the, after a decent run, like the next day or so. In fact, there's a race called the Catherine Trail Ultra Marathon, up in the Highlands of Scotland, and it's about 80K. Uh, so that was back in May, I think it was. So I did that. The next day, I got up, feeling all right. Decided to go out for a bit of a run. Ended up doing a 10K and like doing it in just over like 40 minutes, because I was actually feeling really good. So again, it's just down to listening to your body, and if you feel feeling good before a race and want to go out and stretch your legs, I wouldn't be too worried about going out and doing that.
um, but I'm going to end it here because you're going to running club and I'm teaching in the next 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's nice to have you, Paul. Do you want to plug your YouTube channel or anything?
Oh yeah.
Um,
So yeah, we have I've been making videos now for ages. That's my dog. Don't know if you can hear that. So yeah, so it's a channel called The Random Runner on YouTube, and yeah, I just, for any of the big races or runs that I do, I now just make videos of them. The last one I did was the Lakeland 100. One before that was the West Highland Way, and they're good. I enjoy doing them. There's nothing fancy about them. People kind of refer to them as kind of vlogs because I just generally just chat away, and it helps distract me on a big run, and then afterwards gives me something to look back on. And I'm currently working on the video for the tour, so that's going to be pretty epic. Yeah, it was an incredible experience, so it's quite good going back through because there's, especially on big long runs, you forget a lot of it. So like, going back through videos, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that bit, so it's, yeah, that's quite good.
yeah. So I'm going to end it now. If everyone could subscribe to this channel, and if you have any questions for Paul, put it in the comments because I'm assuming you'll come back and have a look through comments. Also, Paul's channel's in the drop-down box, the description, and also I think I managed to tag you in the video title, so I don't know if you'd be able to click on that to find his channel. So
Yeah,
thanks for having me, Paul. I
thank
hope
you.
you have a good run at running club, and I guess that's it. So thanks for watching,
All right.
everyone.
Yeah, thanks. Cheers, Andrew. Bye-bye.
Right, bye.
Bye.
How awkward am I? Oh God, why does that hurt me more than you?